Simple and plain. To be the best, you have to win. That's why I play the game.
What's good, Laker fans? Welcome back to the channel, man. I hope you're having a fantastic day. In one of my previous videos, I spoke about how I see this year's Los Angeles Lakers squad matching up against the strongest teams in the West this season. So to continue that style of video, in this video I'm going to talk about how I see the Los Angeles Lakers matching up against a team that's considered to be the championship heavyweights for this season. And of course, as you can tell by the title of the video, that's the Brooklyn Nets. And many of NBA fans out there are of the assumption that the Los Angeles Lakers are eventually going to meet the Brooklyn Nets in the NBA Finals. And that's of course barring any injuries from both sides. So of course, we need to break it down on this channel. But before we get started, I've got a little controversial question for you guys. Do you think LeBron James or Kevin Durant is a better overall scorer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments right now. So let's dive a little deeper into the Brooklyn Nets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. And first of all, let's start with the Brooklyn Nets and have a closer look at what they've done this offseason. And to be quite honest, they haven't really done much in terms of mixing up the core of their team. Obviously, they still have their three superstars in Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. And they've kept their core guys in Joe Harris and Blake Griffin. So ultimately they're coming into this season with the same starting five that they had last season, although they have moved around a couple of role players and also bought some good role players in as well. First of all, they moved on Spencer Dinwiddie, who never really got to play with the Big Three due to injury, but he's coming back and he's now signed with the Washington Wizards. And they essentially replaced Spencer Dinwiddie with Patty Mills, which was a big get for them, especially if they can get the Patty Mills who plays for Australia, because he can really score some buckets. And then they've also brought in some other quality backup players in LaMarcus Aldridge and Paul Millsap. So on paper, for me, I honestly think that they look a better squad than they had last year. And then when you compare that to the Los Angeles Lakers, we already know, we've spoken a number of times about the changes to the roster that the Los Angeles Lakers have made. And for me, these are by far the best two squads in the NBA at the moment. But we're yet to see these squads play. But on paper, at least, these two squads are definitely at the top of the table in terms of talent and what they can produce on the NBA court. So that's why many NBA fans like myself and a lot of Laker fans out there think that inevitably these two teams are going to end up in the NBA Finals. And if we look back to last season, if we're being 100% honest, the Brooklyn Nets, when they put it all together and when they were rolling, they looked like the best team in basketball. And it's quite simply because they have this three-headed monster in Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, who can quite literally be unstoppable on the offensive end. I mean, we got Kevin Durant, who is literally unguardable. No matter who you throw at him, all he needs to do is just find his mid-range shot, pull up, shoot over the defender, and it's cash every single time. Then you have Kyrie Irving dribbling the ball around the defense and just coming up with all sorts of plays. And then you have James Harden, who's one of the best scorers that the NBA has ever seen, and they can just literally outscore you every single night. I mean, they say defense wins championships, but when you're that talented on the offensive end, it's up to the other team to actually put that defense together, and that's exactly how the Brooklyn Nets are going to win the majority of their games and playoff games at that next season. And then on the other hand, the Los Angeles Lakers, with the addition of Russell Westbrook, now have one of the most athletic teams in the league. I mean, you have Russell Westbrook coming at you at 100 miles an hour, LeBron James coming at you at 100 miles an hour, and Anthony Davis catching lobs from out of nowhere, being a dominant big every single night. So that's really, the mentality of the Lakers. We're the strongest team out there, we're the most athletic team, and that's how we're going to win the majority of our games this season. So in saying that, when these two teams eventually match up against each other, the Brooklyn Nets are definitely going to try and shoot us out of the gym, whereas the Los Angeles Lakers are going to have to rely on their physicality and their strength to ultimately break down that Brooklyn Nets defense. So that's why this is going to be a very intriguing matchup, because the Brooklyn Nets are equipped with those three superstars who can just flat out score the ball and make clutch shots at that. I mean, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden are all players who've proven to be big shot makers in this league. But you could argue that LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Carmelo Anthony are those types of shot makers as well, but can they do it at a consistent level like the Brooklyn Nets players can? Because I'm of the mindset that the Brooklyn Nets players can knock down more consistent jump shots than the Lakers players can, but in saying that, they still have to make those shots, and they're going to have to deal with the physicality of the Lakers defense, because now we've got players like Russell Westbrook, who's a pit bull on the defensive end, and he's not going to back down, and then the other Lakers players are really going to feed off that energy, and that's where you're going to see the best of LeBron James and Anthony Davis come out. And I just think in terms of defense and the hustle mentality, that's where the Lakers are really going to outwork the Brooklyn Nets, and that's where I see the Lakers overcoming that shooting of the Brooklyn Nets as well. And this is where the upside of having a coach like Frank Vogel comes in, because he's a defensive-minded coach, so he's going to be on guys about having a defense-first mentality, and that's what was so crucial in us winning our championship just 2 seasons ago when we were the best team in the NBA. And this is why it's going to be so crucial for guys like Kent Bazemore, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk, Trevor Ariza, and especially Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook to really be the anchors of our defense and really take on these guys like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. Make it hard for them every time we match up against them. Make it hard for them to get to their spots. Really put the pressure on them from the jump to make it difficult for them to get over the top of us in terms of shooting and just scoring lights out, as they've shown they can do so many times. And look, I'm going to end this video by talking about a player who's really the key to us beating the Brooklyn Nets, and who's really the key to it all this season in terms of winning a championship. And that's Anthony Davis, because there's simply no answer for Anthony Davis if he has it going. Because when we look at the Brooklyn Nets roster, no one's going to be able to hang with Anthony Davis because he's just that good. I mean, Brooklyn Nets fans could argue that Kevin Durant's able to guard Anthony Davis, or Blake Griffin's able to guard Anthony Davis, but when you really think about it, when he puts him in the post and starts backing him down, that skinny frame of Kevin Durant is not going to be able to hang with Anthony Davis, and Blake Griffin's never been a good defender in the first place. And again, Anthony Davis is just going to be able to overpower him. And when you look down the list and you match up these two teams together, okay, you could say that LeBron James cancels out Kevin Durant. You could say that Russell Westbrook cancels out a Kyrie Irving or a James Harden. But there's no one cancelling out an Anthony Davis on the Brooklyn Nets. There's no one that can hang with his skill set or his length. And that's exactly why I'm going to be looking for Anthony Davis to be the difference maker this season for the Los Angeles Lakers up against the Brooklyn Nets, and ultimately the difference between the Los Angeles Lakers winning it all next year. And I really think it's time for Anthony Davis. It's time for him to step up and be the best player on this team and be the most dominant big man in the league. I really think it's time for him, and I have full confidence that this new Los Angeles Lakers squad will match up well against these Brooklyn Nets and really give them a run for their money. Because geez, I mean, there's a lot riding on this series, isn't it? I mean, you have the situation between Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, and then also the situation, as we all know, back in the day between Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. And geez, I just can't wait for this series. But overall, as I said, the Brooklyn Nets, as they always do, they're going to try and come out and shoot us out of the gym. But I just think, you know, the hustle and that dog attitude and that physical side of the Los Angeles Lakers can really, you know, match the offense of the Brooklyn Nets. And as I said, I'm just excited to see it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. How do you think these two teams will match up against each other? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But for now, that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe now so you don't miss out on more Laker videos just like this one. But for now, it's been your boy Jay from the Lakers exclusive YouTube channel. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.